a knight kneeling to a queen. There's nothing anti-masculine about that.
Let's talk about all the amazing things that we love about men.
I get their heart rate down and I see them enter subspace. Men are under a tremendous amount of pressure to be this masculine stereotype.
Men seem to be really exhausted from doing everything possible and then having fingers pointed at them saying you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And they can't be vulnerable about it either. They're told not to show their emotions, not to cry.
I was a little terrified of you too. You just seem so powerful.
Many people are.
Hello, gorgeous, lion-hearted soul, and welcome to Magnetize Your Queen. I'm your host, Anya, a men's somatic intimacy coach. And this is a place where I get to have the realest, rawest, most authentic conversations with mostly male guests about masculinity, desire, primal power, and how to stop being at war with each other and to start enjoying each other's company. So I invite you to put down your sword for a moment and let's have some fun.
Welcome, everyone. This is Magnetize Your Queen. And today you have not one, but two queens on this podcast. And to be a little more precise, you have a priestess and a goddess.
Hey, everyone.
So I'm sitting here with a beautiful, amazing, gorgeous, dear friend of mine, Goddess Gwendoline. Gwendoline is a dominatrix and an aviatrix. And she is also a mother of two children. And I am so happy to dive so deeply into so many important conversations. And I know that it might seem a little counterintuitive why we have two women here on the podcast, because the podcast is mainly geared towards men. And I know that I told a lot of you that I will have male guests because we're having conversations about masculinity. But the reason why I really wanted to have Goddess Gwendoline here on the podcast today is because I do want us to talk about masculine healing, not from a point of view of like, let me tell you what you're doing wrong, because I think that men have heard so much of that. I really wanted to have a gorgeous dominatrix, a gorgeous goddess here to have a conversation with. Let's talk about all the amazing things that we love about men. How can we talk about all the amazing things that we can inspire and encourage in men to let you know that, no, we're not here to start another war with you. So we'll dive into all of that a little deeper in a moment. But I did want to take a moment to do a little PSA for you, Goddess Gwendoline.
Thank you.
Do you realize that this is the first time ever since we've known each other for us to sit down and have a conversation, just the two of us without our children?
That's so true. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this is the first time that we've sat down to have a conversation.
You're
without our
right. We're
children.
always with them when we're together. Interesting.
Yeah, so this is such a funny way of life. We met each other when our daughters were in the same daycare. And the first time I ever saw you, you were pregnant with your second daughter and you were biking your older daughter to school. And I remember seeing you so pregnant, getting off the bike. You had the seat where your daughter was sitting. And I was like, who is this powerhouse of a queen? I was just so mesmerized. I was a little terrified of you too.
Were you?
You just seemed so powerful.
Many people are.
Yeah. We started having play dates for our children with other moms. It was really interesting to shift from that worldview of how mothers have been perceived for so long as like, all about the baby. It's all about the children. And we are not allowed to have our personal lives. We're not allowed to be our own people. And so much of that is self-imposed too, because a million reasons. I'm not going to get into that. But it was so interesting to go from like these moms who get together and entertain our children and do all these arts and crafts to getting to know each other as whole people in our power, in our heartbreak. Both of us were going through a divorce right as we met each other, and I was the first one, then yours followed, and it was like witnessing each other's heartbreak and holding each other through that, and at the same time mothering, and then sitting in your kitchen and trying to have a conversation about kinky stuff, and our children having drama and crying and being like, mommy, mommy. So that was a very long intro into just me trying to tell you I am so happy to have you here on my couch today, and we get to have like the realest, rawest conversation without children disturbing us and running around. And we get to offer this conversation as a very sacred offering to the masculine and to anybody who is watching this, not as, let me tell you what's wrong with you, but instead, like, let me tell you what's right with you.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Because we love men.
Yeah. So welcome. Welcome.
And we've come so far. I mean, looking at the then and now, like we've definitely had our own healing transformation. And I think that's why we're able to now discuss this with the male audience, because we're whole women, we're secure in ourselves. And yeah, we have a lot to offer.
Yeah. Yeah. So my first question that I want to ask you is about reverence. And this is the angle where I want us to come at this conversation. We, in my opinion, live in a very irreverent world. We're both millennials, we're the same age. And I think that so much of what we receive from media, from TV, from our environment was complete irreverence for intimacy, irreverence for relationships, and irreverence to life in general. And then at the same time, on the other hand, you have the word reverence that has been serving dogma for so long. It's been a word that's been co-opted by religious dogma. It's like you're supposed to be reverent to this God who's going to smite you.
Oh, yeah.
So we've started to relate to that word as something like do this or something
Be
terrible is gonna
obedient. Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen to authority.
Yeah. And I think your whole path that you're walking right now is a path of receiving reverence and initiating men into reverence. So I would love to hear more from you about that.
Yeah, it's funny as you say that, it feels ironic that in my rebellion and being irreverent to authority, I am reclaiming that reverence to myself. I've really had to just let go of other people's opinions and just focus on myself and my path of life, which was being a dominatrix. It's been really surprising how much I've learned about the healing process of both genders. I like to think of it as a yin and a yang, and that the polarity brings balance into relationships. It deepens connection when we heal. And a feminine presence can be very grounding to the masculine energy. It's really important that reverence be given. I think that it doesn't just go away because people are irreverent towards women. Like, it becomes a shadow and it kind of comes out sideways. So,
oh, that is such a good topic. And I want us to dive really deeply into that in a moment. And there's so many different directions that this conversation could go.
it's true.
But let's start maybe from the beginning, if you don't mind. And just tell us a few words about maybe how you discovered this path. How did it call to you? How did this happen?
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like I've always been, well, people said I was bossy, like I wanted to do things my way. I grew up in the Mormon church where women are very much, or the Latter-day Saints, women are definitely seen as someone who makes sure like the man is on his path and we're just like a supporting side character. And it was difficult for me to accept. And I feel like it kind of made me throw myself into a masculine energy. Like if only if I was more masculine, I could prove to them that I'm worthy. So I was very religious. I did a lot of the rituals of the church as soon as I could, as soon as I was old enough. I did wrestling and I gave up ballet. I was just like kind of suppressing my feminine to show like I could do this. I can be as good as a man, which made me really unhappy. Suppressing my feminine was very difficult. And then my boyfriend at the time, who I think is sub, when I look back on it, just didn't know how to handle it and got in trouble, sexual trouble with the church. And that's kind of how I left. I definitely had a difficult home life. I just moved out on my own when I was 17. And I feel like I've just been oscillating between like not caring at all what people think and I'm going to just do it my way. I was polyamorous in college. And then I was like, no, I do want to fit in to the molds and like shifted completely to I'm going to be a doting wife and just take care of my husband and for love, basically. I think I finally found the balance within myself. This is who I am. I'm unapologetic about it. You either love me or you hate me,
Yeah.
but only my opinion matters about my life. So that's been the
Yeah.
shift.
And I would love to offer a little story of how I discovered that you were a dominatrix. It was
Oh,
so
yeah?
funny. Yeah, so
I'm interested in the story.
yeah, you don't remember?
I don't remember.
Yeah, so we had another play date for our daughters, and I was telling you that I had a really deep plant medicine journey. And before anybody starts jumping to judgment, I do not condone it. I think that for people like myself who had lived through a lot of trauma, it can be a beautiful gateway into healing. Plant medicine need to be undertaken under guidance and just knowing why you're doing it. So I definitely don't advertise it like everybody should go do plant medicine. I knew what I was doing. I have been meditating daily for a really long time, and I made sure that I actually sat with myself and faced what I needed to face before I went. That was a year and a half ago. And I'm still unpacking just everything that I received in that journey. But it was very helpful for me to face the deepest depth of myself so that I wasn't scared of myself anymore. Again, speaking of that suppressed shadow, I came out of that very deep journey and I was like, wow, I received a message from Divine Mother. And the message is, girl, you're going to be a dominatrix. And I was like, what the fuck? This phrase just dropped into my head. And that was also the time when I was starting to come to terms with the sexual assault that I lived through as a teenager, multiple cases. And also, I had a very physically abusive mother. So I had an entire childhood and adolescence of physical abuse, of sexual abuse. So my body was very much in a really locked state of just so much trauma locked in the body. And it was very difficult to work with that. And physically, I was just so sick. Like, I really felt like I wasn't going to make it. And being like, girl, you're going to be a dominatrix. It didn't make any sense to me. And I was like, well, what about all my sexual trauma? How the fuck does that even compute? But I would also had enough of acceptance to be like, okay, I don't have to have all the answers right now, but if that is what I'm meant to do, like, okay, I'll explore that. So then on a play date with our children, I was like, girl, I think I'm going to be a dominatrix. And you were like, come here. So you take me into your bedroom and you show me your chains and
remember
your
now.
whips. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, it blew my mind.
Yeah.
I was like, a mother that we do play dates with? Like how divine can that be? How more divine can that even be?
I remember that because then you told me about Tantra, and that was something I was looking into and exploring.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was like a big revelation for the both of us.
Yeah. So it's so interesting how our paths sometimes take us to these really unknown territories, and we're like, I have no idea how this is gonna unfold, and I'm just following the breadcrumbs and I'm trusting my intuition.
Exactly. The big breakout moment for me is I had done a boudoir photo shoot to celebrate my body at my heaviest. And it was really an act of self-love. But I was so afraid to post it on Instagram. And when I looked at my Instagram, I was just like, this is showing like a cute, like sweet person. But when I thought about who I am, I was like, I wouldn't describe myself as cute and sweet. I would describe myself as like a dark, like sexual person. And I held on to it for quite a while. And then finally, I decided I need to not care about anybody's opinion. My family members that I disagree with their life, I disagree with their lifestyle and they disagree with mine, kind of thing. Like, I was giving them weight, their opinions weight. And I was like, you know what? I just have to post this. This is me. So I did. And like, I really feel like that energy that I put forth came right back to me because just a few hours later, that's when I met my first sub.
Yeah.
And like, my path started. It was that acceptance of self that just opened the world to me. And like, my life has been changed forever because of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I really want to take a moment here to celebrate you for just how huge of a step that is. And to some people listening, it might seem like, oh, it's just as simple as you decide you're going to do that and then you do it. And then that's just who you are. But there's just so much more to that because especially as feminine beings, we come from thousands of years of being molded into these palatable versions that the society thought we should be.
Right.
And you know, some of it we're not gonna spiral into who did what, because I think at the end of the day it's like a whirlpool of this is done to us and then we do it to ourselves also. It's like, you know, a self-supporting system in a way. And I don't mean this in any kind of a like a victim blaming thing, or I don't mean to negate the existence of patriarchy. It's kind of like our mothers were broken And then our mothers taught us to be broken.
Yeah.
And that's a choice. It's always a choice. But when you're not taught that there is a choice and there's nobody around you making a different choice, then you don't even know that a different choice exists.
Absolutely.
Until you see an example around yourself where somebody's making a different choice and you're like, oh, fuck that. I'm going to break out of this little box that I've been stuffed in. So I'm saying this with, first of all, with so much gratitude for women who have walked these paths before us so we can see them and witness them. And I can't even imagine the amount of courage it took for them to step out of thousands of years of programming to be a certain way. And I also just really want to celebrate you for the amount of inner work that you had to do and the amount of healing, the amount of breaking of the old generational trauma and old generational patterning, that past life patterning, past life trauma that was telling you should be a certain way. And that's not what's on the surface. You know, nobody can see that. For looking from outside, they're like, oh, that woman is hot, you know? But what went underneath
Right.
is
The underbelly.
bone-breaking work. Bone-breaking, where you probably felt like, I don't know if I'm going to make out alive out of this.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. I've been a flight attendant for 10 years. And what I love about my job is I meet so many incredible people. There were so many flight attendants that shared their stories with me and showed me that another way existed and that it is a difficult journey, but so worth it. And I lost a lot of relationships from coming out, from posting that. I got a lot of family members came at me right away. Like, why haven't you thought about these people seeing this? If I'm not responsible for their feelings, if they don't want to see it, they just have to unfollow me. And there was a huge wave of that. There was also a lot of shame with me taking time for myself, because when I broke out, I was also like, you know what? I want to get my nails done. I want to pay a babysitter so I can just write. And people are telling me, oh, you're not a good mother because you're not with them 24/7, which is kind of wild. Like, I don't hear that on the other side. So
Yeah.
it was a lot of work, but I'm like the happiest I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
So it's been worth it. Like, the risk was worth it.
Yeah, because you don't have to hide who you are.
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is who I am. Take it or leave it.
Yeah. And I do see you as a mentor, because I go to you
Aw.
for so many things, like oh my God. You know, it's mostly not the kind of advice that I could read in a book. It's more of just the moral support of like, how the fuck do I get through this discomfort of stepping out of that box that I have put myself into, and I thought that I was supposed to be this person. And you know, I've always been a little fringe. Or on the fringe, what's the saying?
Yeah.
People have always thought of me as a little bit of an oddball.
Same here.
Yeah, so it shouldn't even be that hard. Like, people just always knew that I was a little weird. Like, you know, so
I can relate with that.
yeah, so why the fuck should it be any different for me to just completely reinvent my persona from environmental activist who's like, you gotta bring your own bags to the grocery store, which I used to do all the time. Like, why can't I reinvent myself from that persona who bitches at people about environmental footprint? And why can't I reinvent myself from that kind of a weirdo into a weirdo who's like on your knees?
Exactly.
You know? Like,
It's your life. It's your choice.
and if somebody is really not on board with it, they can flip me just like they would flip me when I bitch at them about not bringing their bags to a grocery store.
There's really no winning. It's like you're shamed for wearing makeup, you're shamed for not wearing makeup. You're
Yeah.
shamed for getting plastic surgery. You're shamed for not getting plastic surgery.
Yeah.
You're shamed for wearing a bikini. You're also shamed for being completely clothed head to toe. Like there's really no winning. So just do what you want.
Yeah, you're so
Basically.
right. And I saw a comic in a newspaper that just kind of floored me, where there's two women looking at each other. One woman is wearing a tiny little bikini, and the other woman is wearing an all body covering, like everything is covered except her eyes. And both of them are looking at each other, and both of them have the thought bubble that says the exact same thing. Oh, this poor woman, so oppressed by the patriarchal society.
Yeah, wow.
And I was like, whoa, they're like two completely opposite sides of the spectrum. But also, if it's a choice, if it's a personal choice to be covered head to toe, how is that personal choice any worse than the personal choice of being almost naked?
Yep.
Like, it's my body in this case, and it's my body in this case. These are my clothes in this case, and these are my clothes in this case. And who the fuck is here to determine which one is better, which one is worse, if it's my personal choice? Yeah.
Well, I feel like when you become more secure and healed, you just see them both as beautiful, whatever the expression may be, because you just care about your own life. You're not so worried about what other people are doing.
Yeah.
You just appreciate them. You love the diversity.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it does change your perspective a lot.
And you know, this is something that I've been thinking about lately too, is that we think only as Middle Eastern women or Muslim women who cover up their hair. And in Ukraine, women used to cover their hair and still
Yep.
do. But my grandmothers always had their hair covered. Always. It was not something that was even up for negotiation. That was just tradition.
Right.
So in the last decade or so, I started seeing that as something oppressive, like something was done to them by men, and now they were forced to cover their hair. And then recently, I had a really beautiful realization that for them, it was actually tradition. They wore their headscarves with pride. They wore their headscarves as adornment. They wore their headscarves as a sign of status too, because they were married women. So
Right.
it was the married women who covered their hair. And it's also, when you think about that feminine allure of beautiful hair, it was something that they very proudly displayed to their partner, but covered from everyone else. It was like this special thing they got to whip out. And of course, I'm speaking about the most empowered scenario. It was not always that way. But
Right.
even something like that, you know, covering the hair or not covering the hair, it can be this beautiful act of sovereignty of like, I want to keep my hair for the only person that I want to see my hair, you know?
Yeah, it just goes back to having the autonomy to make those choices. You can cover yourself up, or you can parade yourself, and both of them should be seen as art, rather
Yeah.
than they're not following a certain standard.
Yeah. So I want to ask you this question now. A lot of people assume that being a dominatrix is similar to being a prostitute. That a man comes to a dominatrix, it means that he's getting serviced. And that couldn't be any farther from truth.
Right.
So I would love for you to speak about that part of what actually it entails, because I think so many people are so confused about what actually goes on there.
Absolutely. Three reactions, I would say. I feel like one would be very inflammatory, where they're kind of like mocking it, ego doesn't want to surrender. And I see this in your comments too. I feel like being a dominatrix, you're very sexualized. And in that case, they're kind of like externalizing it rather than integrating what it means to be a very powerful woman. And I feel like that first reaction when it's inflammatory, I think that kind of fuels the male side of the gender war, where men are saying like women are the problem. And then I feel like the other one, like women use that to say, you know, we're being objectified all the time. And so now we're going to objectify men in the same way. But what I would want people to understand is I think for men, like me being a dominatrix or dominatrices in general, like they provide a lot of relief for men.
Yeah. Let's
Like-
talk about that. I feel like this could be a topic for an entire episode.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's dive into that if you're ready.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like what you were talking about, us servicing men, there's a phrase we call like topping from the bottom, where a man is just kind of exerting his dominance and telling a dominatrix, okay, look, this is what I want, and this is what I expect you to do. Like, that's not female domination, in my opinion. Like, I would never enter into something like that. And then the other thing, people thinking it's prostitution. I do this because I receive pleasure from dominating men. I have sexual fantasies that are in this realm of exploration. I'm doing this for me. And no way am I trying to control a man when I'm doing this, actually. Like, to control a man, you have to not control him. He has to be free. He's basically like offering his service. And I think that's what people get wrong a lot of times.
Yeah, please talk more about this, because even if I'm hearing you, I'm like, I know this, but also I want to hear this again, because I
Yeah.
think this is such a frequently misunderstood topic, is because I think so many of us equate that kind of sexual domination with control. It's the desire to control, to be in charge of someone, to break their will, to mold them to something we want them to be. And I think that's why so many people fear it, or have all of these preconceived notions about why they would never do that. So what you're saying is so beautiful, is because you are allowing men to serve you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't strip them of their power.
Yeah, let's talk more about this. Okay,
I'm not trying to like flip patriarchy on its head or something.
Yeah.
It's not a power grab. For me, it's a harmonization. Yeah, where it's an opportunity for men to show that reverence, to give up control, and not be seen as a weak person. I think that's part of a man's shadow, is he doesn't want to be that strong, stoic person all the time. It's
Okay.
a lot of pressure.
Can you please say this louder for all of those people in the back? I think we need to say this like several times.
Okay.
So that everybody who's like, wait, what? Yes, let's please talk about this more.
Yeah, like men are under a tremendous amount of pressure to be this masculine stereotype. And I feel like a lot of men need a breather from that and feel like they can't relax,
Yeah.
basically.
You know, I have a really good life example from this. I'm not a man, but, you know, as a tantrika,
Yeah.
Tantrika means tantra practitioner, for anybody who doesn't know. So in the tantric philosophy, there's a belief that all the energies in the 3D manifest world are dual. And while we're here on earth, all the energies are dual, day and a night, good and bad, pain and pleasure. Every single thing that you can think of has, the flip side of the coin. So Tantra and Eastern philosophy in general sees the masculine and the feminine energies as polar opposites of each other. Now, here's where it gets a little more nuanced, is because when you think of your soul being the eternal soul that comes from one source, it does not have that duality because it is one with source. So my soul is not male or female or anything in between. My soul just is. It is one with consciousness. But my soul chose to incarnate in a female body. And not only did my soul choose to incarnate in a female body, my soul also chose to play a female part. And for some of us, it's different. Some people incarnated in a female body but decided to play a male role or a non-binary role, and that is also beautiful, and that's the entire spectrum of existence. And that same philosophy says that inside of every single one of us, we have both energies. Just like the coin has two sides, inside of us, we have both energies always. They're just mixed in different proportions. And in a way, when we become more enlightened beings, when we become more attuned to subtle energies, we can also control the flow of those energies. We can flow with the masculine a little more, we can flow with the feminine a little more, and there becomes this fluidity. So in my personal practice, in my priestess practice, I sometimes do these shamanic journeys into trying on, what is my masculine right now feeling? What is my masculine right now trying to communicate to me? So last night I was so wound up because it just took so much mental energy to prepare for the launch of my website, the launch of my podcast. I've been really active on social media. So
Yeah, it's a lot.
So last night I was like, I am so wired right now. I'm going to do some self-pleasure. And I was texting you. I was like, I'm about to do self-pleasure.
And I was like, I've already self-pleasured.
Yes. And that is a way to connect to our humanity, and that is a way to connect to our bodies, because we can't forget that we are embodied beings, that we are walking here in these human skins, and we are interacting with each other as humans. So as I'm trying to get to my self-pleasure practice, I hit so much resistance, just like everything in my body is screaming no, just no. So I'm sitting there meditating. I'm like meditating for 10 minutes, for 20 minutes, for 30 minutes, for 40 minutes, for an hour. I'm sitting there meditating for an hour, trying to get to a point where I'm ready. And I realize that I'm just not going to be fucking ready because I can't wind down. I'm so wound up. And then I'm starting to kind of like tap into my masculine, and I'm starting to talk to him, and he's just fucking exhausted, and he is wired, and he has been doing everything. My podcast, my website, my bills, my this, my that. Like, he's had so fucking much on his plate that, first of all, my feminine is completely shut down. And also my masculine is just so exhausted that neither one of them are like able to connect to pleasure right now.
Yeah.
So then it became this game of my feminine. These internal games are so fun. I really encourage y'all to explore it. Like, Tantra is so beautiful.
I need to do
for
that.
Yeah, so then
You teach me so much too.
Yeah. So then it becomes this game of my feminine being like, king, can you exhale? Like, I'm so fucking grateful. I am so grateful. I'm on my knees. I'm so grateful for everything you've done. You are such a badass. You have manifested so much shit. Like, I'm recording my podcast tomorrow. Like, you have done so much. Can you just like stop for a moment and have a little bit of pleasure, you know?
And did he accept?
Yes. Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I think, and this is probably resonating differently with every person. And some of y'all are probably like, what the fuck is she talking about? But to loop back into that conversation of men seem to be really exhausted
Yeah.
from doing everything possible and then having fingers pointed at them saying you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they can't be vulnerable about it either. They're told not to show their emotions, not to cry, which is really, it's how we self-regulate. If that's emotional self-regulation, and they're not allowed to go there. And then even their sexual desire is like, which is another way to kind of self-regulate. They're not allowed to be fully open about what it is they want out of sex.
Yeah.
And that makes it really hard.
Yeah. And something that I'm noticing with my coaching clients too is that it is very difficult for men to receive because men have been programmed to give.
Hey, gorgeous. Quick thing. I would love to share an incredibly delicious practice with you. It helps you connect to your really deep, primal masculine power and also to the deepest level of self-love you could ever imagine. It is totally free. Link is below, or you can go to anyazelinska.com/primal power. That is ANYAZELINSKA/primal-power. Let me know what you think.
And it is very difficult for men to be in a true place of receiving, like receiving with gratitude and receiving from a place of an open heart. And please correct me if I'm wrong. But I'd love to hear your take on this too, is that, you know, when men come to a dominatrix, even though they are serving you, at the same time, they are receiving your undivided attention. They're in a space where there's nothing else required of them.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you tell them a little more about that, or what do you see? What shifts in male energy as they come into the room and as the session progresses?
It's an amazing thing to watch. It's a relief. It's a relaxation of the nervous system. It's them just being able to feel those shadows that they've been repressing, fear of judgment or dependency, being held, being overpowered, like they're able to feel all those things. And so it brings them to balance. And it's interesting, it grounds them in their masculine energy, and they're able to do way more after that because they feel replenished. They just feel like, wow, that was such a great relief. So many of them are constantly making decisions, and I literally turn off their brain. Like, a lot of people assume it's just certain kinds of sex and the equipment involved, but I actually, in some of my scenes, I put a heart rate monitor on them, and like through that, I'm able to see like what touch relaxes them, and I get their heart rate down, and I see them enter subspace. Like, it is like a physical, like, I can see them thinking, and then I turn it off.
Yeah.
And then it's like their heart rate slows down
Well, it is a
to almost like a meditation.
Yeah. It is a shamanic journey for them.
Yeah.
Right? Is it for you as well?
Yes. Yes, because on the flip side, like my shadow is women aren't allowed to be angry, women aren't allowed to be in control. So it's such a beautiful relationship because we're both getting out of it what the other is craving. I'm steering everything. I'm deciding the positions. I'm deciding how things are going to be done. I get to take and receive my pleasure the way I want it to be given to me. Or I can give it as well. The Wheel of Consent is a great book on giving and receiving. It's 4 quadrants. It's like I give for your pleasure, or I give for my pleasure, or I receive for your pleasure, or I receive for my pleasure. And that's like a very interesting place to explore.
I love that so much. I need to read that book because I'm a switch and I
Yeah.
enjoy both. And as I have been contemplating, what gives me pleasure and how I like to give pleasure, you just hit a nail on the head right there. There is a way to serve in order to
Yeah.
receive pleasure, and there's a way to serve to give pleasure.
Precisely.
Yeah, and vice versa. And the only way to get to what's going to happen is just to talk about it and decide
Yeah.
what do you want.
Yeah. And I love that BDSM really forces you to talk very intimately about what it is you both want, to meet in the middle.
Yeah. This is a perfect segue into the next topic that I really wanted to discuss is that word BDSM. The last two words are sadism, masochism. And it's interesting because Masok lived in Ukraine for a long time.
This infers.
So he's a celebrity in the Western Ukraine. I really don't like that part, the sadism, masochism, because that gives you an idea that suffering is involved. And so I prefer the word kink because I think kink is so encompassing of anything that's not dogma, basically.
Yeah.
It's like anything that is
That's
outside
taboo.
of that box, anything that is taboo. So
Yeah.
so Tantra is very much considered kink in the Western world, but in the Eastern world, Tantra is not considered kink, or some places. Tantra has been largely eradicated even in Asia, thanks to patriarchy. I really love that word kink as opposed to the word BDSM, because for me, domination and submission is so much less about pain, although pain can be a very powerful portal into embodiment. And maybe we could talk about this next too. But pain is not a requirement for
No.
a domination and submission scene. So
That's
what
very true. Like the scene I'm describing, it was more of a sensualist scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, and with pain, like usually I'll like slap so that it's immediately put into the body. So it's a very effective tool. But then then it turned into the sensualist feast. So
Yeah.
which has nothing to do with pain. It doesn't have to have pain. It doesn't have to have penetrative sex.
Yeah. And I think most dominatrices out there, there's no penetrative sex involved at all. I mean, especially if you go into a dungeon, there is, my understanding, I've never been in a dungeon,
Yeah.
but my understanding is that there's no touching. The touching goes one way, the dominatrix is not even touched in most instances. And again, it's all about consent of.
Yeah,
and
it's what you agree upon. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it also has so much to do with, are you doing this for your own self-pleasure? Are you doing this for healing of others? It depends on what kind of an energetic exchange is involved. There's a piece that I'm very curious about because that's a piece that doesn't sit well with me when I encounter this in books. And I would love to hear your take on it because that kind of a power play, domination and submission, to me, it's about healing, about opening deeper into our humanity. It's about shedding the dogmatic programming, about breaking out of the boxes of what we were taught sexuality should be like. So to me, it's like a very healing experience all around. So the way I see it is a very heart-led experience, an experience from the heart. You know, like I'm not there to punish anyone for being a bad person, you know? And this is the element that doesn't sit well with me. It's the humiliation.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm very curious to hear it from you because I have no experience with it, but I know that some people like the humiliation piece. Yeah, so are the two combinable, the heart-led and humiliation?
Before I answer, what about it doesn't sit well with you?
And you know, this is so interesting because as I say the word humiliation, you know, the word humiliation and humility, they have the same root.
Yeah.
And about a year and a half ago, when I was really struggling financially, I had a very humiliating experience of being on the phone with a person about SNAP benefits for 3 hours and them questioning me, you know, about every expense. And that was the first time that I had to, first of all, admit that I need help.
Yeah.
And on the other side of it, as I came out of it, and I was like, wow, that was humiliating. And also, that was an initiation into humility. Because you can't know what humility is unless you undergo an initiation of humiliation.
Yeah.
So it's funny that as I asked you that, I'm like, oh, well, okay. So,
Exactly. So I like to think of it like getting a massage. Like sometimes you have to press really hard into that knot to let it out. So I'm a sadist and I love inflicting pain, especially psychological pain and humiliation. So I like to bring it up consensually in scenes. I never surprise someone
yeah.
with, oh, like they find themselves face to face with their deepest fears. I don't, I tell them, I ask for consent. I tell them that I've noticed this is a fear coming up. This is a shame coming up. And I know in a lot of therapies, they say, whatever you fear, what you're feeling ashamed about, it's good to put a light on it to let it out. And so that is essentially what I do is I prepare a very safe, consensual environment where we are playing with those fears and that shame, and it kind of like diminishes its impact. And you're able to feel those emotions in that way.
Yeah.
And then, you're allowed to break down. You're allowed to confront and just let your emotions spill out. And you know that I'm there to hold you and work through that. And there's no shame. And you're being witnessed in that.
Shit. That is so deep and so beautiful and so profound on so many levels. You know, and this is something that I have been working on really, really deeply in my personal healing journey and also with my clients too.
Yeah.
Is that the only way to let all of that stagnant old shit out of your system?
Yeah.
The only way to get rid of it is by witnessing it.
By witnessing it.
There's no other way to do it.
By being seen by someone else and not feeling rejected.
Yeah.
You're accepted. You're allowed to be
Yeah.
human.
And I think that there's the next level, and then there's the next level. So the level 1 is witnessing it yourself. And I think that that is the hardest part to do too, because we want to check out.
Yep.
We don't like feeling comfortable. We'd much rather scroll or numb out with alcohol or drugs or with sex. We'd much rather go do something else than sit with discomfort. I just started meditating very consistently and religiously. And the amount of discomfort that's coming up while I'm meditating is so fucking overwhelming sometimes, where I want to run. But I've made a commitment. I'm like, I'm going to fucking sit here for 15 minutes and I'm going to witness all of it.
That's great.
But most of us don't make that commitment of, I'm going to sit through it no matter what.
Right.
So it's easier to run away from it when we want to do it ourselves. So I feel like there's that level 1, sit with it yourself, and it works. But then there's level 2, is get witnessed by someone else. By a coach, get witnessed by a therapist, get witnessed by a friend. Although friends are not great therapists because they usually encourage us, to...
Well, they're biased,
Yeah.
essentially.
They tell us, you do you, which is beautiful. But a friend is not a good therapist. A friend is a friend. A therapist is a therapist. But then there's a third level of this, is get witnessed by the opposite gender or by your preferred gender of people that you like to be romantically involved with. Because that's a whole other fucking level of witnessing. Because within our own gender, or the gender that we feel comfortable with, it is easier for us to fall apart. And then when the gender that we like to be romantically involved with comes in, and all of a sudden this mask goes up, because we want to be desirable, we want to be beautiful, we want to be, all of these things. And being witnessed in a sexual context, that's like level 4. That is some deep fucking work.
It really is. It's a lot of shadow work. It's a lot of playing with those repressed feelings. And you come out of it feeling way more balanced and relaxed. Like, it's really, really good work. Yeah. It's a lot deeper than just hitting someone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds like you need a scene
I need a scene.
with that situation you brought up. I'll do one for you where you were humiliated.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Maybe. This conversation has been so profound to me on so many levels. And I feel like I could keep talking to you for days. And we're going to make another episode. So Goddess Gwendoline and I are going to take a little break, and we're going to make another episode for you where we're going to go even deeper into all of this stuff. And to wrap up this conversation that we're having right now, I wanted to loop back to the topic of reverence and the importance of reverence, and just where we are right now as men and women, and where does the importance of reverence scream at us like we need it, we need to reclaim it, we need to rediscover what it is.
Right. I think reverence has been afforded to men, and the feminine is in deep need of some reverence as well. And I think that offers men an amazing opportunity to serve. And then also, I feel like a lot of men kind of push back and are afraid of that because they think that they're going to lose power in some way. And it's actually quite the opposite. I think that they can really hone in on their power come out stronger through submission, which is not a weakness.
Yeah, tell me more about this, please. Yeah, so men who are so afraid to be dominated by women, who feel like they need to be in that, dominant masculine energy, and
They're not grounded in their masculine.
yeah,
They're
so
very off kilter.
yeah, so tell me more about that. What is being grounded in the masculine from what you see from working with your clients, of them being able to have that strength to get down on their knees and to submit? Yeah, so I want to hear about that part.
Well, my boyfriends are very grounded in themselves. I feel like they are not afraid of what people think of them. It's in the same way that I have shed that about myself. I don't care what people think. This is me, the authentic me. And the wonderful men in my life have come to that themselves and have worked through a lot of inner work to get to that point. So you often see men in our society just like buying the biggest truck to show that they're a man or things like that, you know?
And we're in honky tonk town, Texas.
Yeah.
So we have the biggest of trucks.
The
we
biggest trucks, the biggest hat, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it's very performative. And I feel like this work turns performance into leadership, because the men in my life, they're very much leaders, are not afraid to wear what they want or drive what they want. Like, they're not getting that kind of validation from those things. They are grounded. And I know that the healing work that we've done together has helped with that. And it's helped me too. It's the polarity really coming to balance.
Yeah. What you said brings up something that I've also been pondering for the last few days. Is in Tantra and Taoism, there's this idea that female energy moves from the ground up and male energy moves from the sky down.
Yes.
That's just the natural flow of energy. And with our awareness, with our energetic practices, we can turn it in a loop. We can direct the loop any direction. We can control our energies or allow those energies to flow a certain way. But what you're saying about these men in your life being grounded, I think you've said the word grounded many times throughout this podcast. And when men are not connecting to that earthy, feminine energy of Mother Earth herself, of Gaia, then they're so living just up here. And, same with women. The women who are not allowing those energies to float up, we're like so earthy. We're so in like very
Entrenched, yeah.
and very dense energies. So I think it's a very beautiful concept. And we have not talked about this, but as you said, grounded, I was like, oh, I wonder if it has to do also with coming to terms with the feminine energies inside of themselves and stepping into that like role of servitude that literally gets them down lower to the ground.
Yeah.
And just to feel that earthy flow of feminine energy through them. Yeah.
And that makes me think of a knight kneeling to a queen. Like, there's nothing anti-masculine about that. There's nothing weak about that. You see these like knights who have given up 20, 30 years just training in the service of Her Majesty. And there's nothing like, I don't know, like that's so masculine, and yet he kneels.
Yeah.
He's in her service. The most masculine guy out there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there's also so much beauty in the reciprocity. In case any of y'all watching are like, stop talking about men kneeling. What about women doing the same? And for me, because I'm a switch, I'm just generally a very fluid person. I have so much air in my astrological chart. To me, there's equal excitement about serving my partner in a way that really resonates with them. What you said, those 4 quadrants of serving by receiving the pleasure versus serving by giving the pleasure, it can be such a gorgeous spectrum of just reverence all around. And I think that because of where we are collectively right now and how we relate to masculine energies, how we relate to feminine energies, and without pointing fingers, without blaming each other, but I think
Yes, that's important.
there is such tremendous amount of healing in asking men and allowing men to shower us with reverence.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's life-changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in our next episode, we're going to be talking about women's inability to receive a reverence. And that is a very, very important topic. And I feel like we could talk for an hour just about that because it is a big topic. But for now, we're going to bring this episode to a close. I am so, so grateful to have had you here. This has been
Thank you
just
for having me.
so beautiful.
It
Our first hangout without
without
children.
children.
I know.
So good.
And before we finish, I really would love for you to tell the viewers how they can find you, how they can work with you, and anything else that you feel worthy of sharing.
Amazing. You can find me, Goddess Gwendoline, on Instagram. Yeah.
And I will tag you in everything.
Okay, perfect.
Yes. And also tell us about your book.
I'm creating a goddess guide on how to start becoming a dominatrix and how to embody that feminine power, because I have had so many women ask me how can they become a dominatrix. And so this guide is about how to embody the spirit of feminine power. And I'll be posting it in my bio.
Let me ask you just one more question. Is it okay for people to direct message you on Instagram?
Yes, come find me.
Okay. From myself, I'm going to add, don't be gross. Be a gentleman. If you don't know how to speak to a goddess, go talk to ChatGPT. How do I talk to a goddess? Okay. All right. So much love. I love you, sister.
I love you too.
And we will be back with another episode.
Yes, indeed.
I love you.
I'll see you there.
You made it. Thank you so much for being here. Please hit subscribe. And I would love it if you leave a comment. It lets me know what you would like to know more about, and it also helps others like yourself to find this work. With so much love and so much gratitude, I will see you next time. Dear lion-hearted light warrior.